Hey up everyone! So as you can see, I'm finally back in my bedroom in London, and now seems like a good time to give you a roundup of all the films that I saw at the Venice Film Festival. Now that we're trenched deeply into award season, it's time to talk about the films that impressed me at Venice and also what might be on the table for some award season discussion. But we're going to go one step further and do something better to get a broader range of the movies we're seeing at the Full Festival circuit. I thought it'd be good to bring on a guest who's been to TIFF. And this is someone I've been wanting to collaborate with for a long time. Good internet friend of mine, but yeah, I've been looking for an excuse to finally get him on the channel. He's a man who doesn't really need much of an introduction, but I'm going to try give him one anyways. But you probably know him as the Awards Contender on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Brian Rowe. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Hi, so great to be here. Thanks for asking me to come on your show.
Oh, my pleasure, mate. Honestly, it's been a long time coming, I think, this video. So yeah.
Yeah, we have known each other a while, but we've never actually spoken. So this is surreal. This
Yeah.
is great.
Only just in text language. I mean, I know your voice. I've been watching your videos for ages, but to actually converse with you, yes, it's a real treat. So yes, we're going to give the viewers a lovely sort of roundup of the films that we saw at Venice and TIFF. I went to Venice this summer, and Brian went to TIFF. I believe this was your first time going to TIFF, wasn't it, mate?
This was my first trip to the Toronto Film Festival, and it was incredible. Yeah, so I've done Sundance a few times. I did Telluride for the first time last year, and then this year I elected to go to TIFF for the first time. It just felt right. I was like, TIFF brings together so many movies that have played at Cannes and Venice and Telluride. Not everything goes to TIFF, but most of them do. Most of the films make it there. So I thought, let's try this one out. It's very far for me. Like, I'm near the West Coast, so to go all the way to Toronto, that was kind of a jaunt. So it's like a day trip. But boy, it was worth it. Saw some amazing movies. I loved the festival. It's so well organized. You actually have a seat, which is kind of nice. You're not rushing in there trying to like grab a seat somewhere. This time I could just like relax, go into these theaters, go to my seats. And having the cast and crew of almost every movie I saw come out on stage was a thrill as well. Like TIFF gets everybody. Holy cow. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I've done TIFF twice. I'm hoping I can go back next year. The last 2 years I haven't been able to go because of wedding obligations. Like people just at that age, everyone's getting married. So yeah, and they're all falling during summer or fall. So I couldn't get to TIFF this year. Hoping next year, and maybe then we might actually see each other in person, in the flesh. I feel like it's inevitable at this point.
Oh, that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen. Don't worry, mate. All right, let's kick things off. But how many films did you see in total this year at the Toronto International Film Festival?
I saw 21 movies. Is that good? I feel like some people might be like, I saw 50 or something. Like, I saw like 3 a day. I think 2 of my 6 full days I saw 4. And then the other days I saw 3. Yeah, I saw 21 films. There were maybe 3 or 4 I wanted to see that I missed. But basically everything I wanted to check out, I got to.
Awesome. No, 21's quite decent, I'd say. Me, at Venice, I'm more about time management now. I saw 15 films this year. Technically it was 16. But I don't count Stranger Eyes. It was the last film of the festival. I fell asleep during it. At that point, festival fatigue just hit me like a train. And I was like, yeah, I napped. I didn't count Stranger Eyes. But I will say this. It was an interesting Venice this year. While the movies I saw this year were generally good, like there was very few films I actively disliked. Everything was good. Everything was watchable. But very few truly great films for me this year. I didn't see the one movie where I was like, this is, something really, really, really special. I feel like The Brutalist came the closest to that, but everything was like really good, but nothing was just like a slam dunk for me. Do you feel like you saw some very special films at TIFF this year?
Oh, yeah. It would have been disappointing if I'd left TIFF 21 films, a week of seeing movies, walking away like, like the best one was an 8 out of 10, nothing special. Like Sundance this past January, I watched 30 films over the course of the week because they go virtual in the second half. So when I got home, I was able to watch a bunch more. I was just like watching Sundance movies. And there was not one Sundance film that I gave like a 10 out of 10, like just extraordinary. Yeah. I saw like 3 or 4 that I guess I would say I loved, but I didn't go completely nuts for any one movie at Sundance. I would say there were 3 at TIFF. They were 2 that everybody's loving, right? Anora and The Brutalist. The movie that really just knocked me out, that I'm hearing good, not amazing things about, but I gave it a 10 out of 10. I loved it, is Baby Girl starring Nicole Kidman. I just went nuts for that movie. I think it's great.
We're definitely going to talk about more about that because I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum for you there. But yeah, I'm very...
Oh, you saw Baby Girl?
Yeah, I saw it in Venice, baby. And yeah, I was like, this is...
And you didn't like it?
And people really did eat it up in Venice, but just it was one of those movies that just didn't quite hit for me. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that, don't worry. I do want to know more about your thoughts on Baby Girl. When it comes to 10 out of 10s, I don't think I saw a 10 out of 10 at Venice for me this year. I think the highest I got was an 8.5 for The Brutalist.
Wow, you're a tough critic.
Well, I just know what I like. I know what I like. There was no film this year. Like, there was no Poor Things. There was no Doom Part 1. There was no The Favorite or Roma or Hitman. Like, I've seen loads of great movies at Venice, but this is just the year where there wasn't that one thing. I was like, oh yeah, this is what I came for, you know. Even though The Brutalist got me pretty close, but it was the last part of the film that just kind of let me down a little bit, stopped me from getting there. But yeah, I do really respect the film and I really do admire it, and I do like it mostly. It's just a couple of little issues that I had with it. Just brought it down slightly. We've heard the 3 that were your 10 out of 10s or your best of the festival. Can we get a quick top 10 of the fest for you?
Okay, so here was my top 10 at TIFF. Number 10, The Life of Chuck, the TIFF People's Choice Award winner. Number 9, I'm Still Here, which was a movie I knew almost nothing about. I took a chance because I had a window like halfway through one of the days.
Yeah.
And I had seen it listed on a website as a movie we should see. And so I took a chance, really loved that. Number 8, Heretic with Hugh Grant, which I think is coming out in theaters in November. It is a wild ride, so much fun. Number 7, The Room Next Door, which I did have some issues with, but in the moment, watching Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton act together is just a pleasure. Like, I just really enjoyed that element. Number 6, We Live in Time with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, which I feel like has had kind of a muted reaction, but I really enjoyed it. It's not doing anything super original, but what the film is trying to do, it succeeds beautifully. Number 5, Saturday Night, which is just a blast. It is like the fastest movie I saw at TIFF. It just flies by. When it ended, I was like, that was a feature-length movie. Like, it's so much fun. Great cast. Number 4, The Wild Robots. The Wild Robots might have been like the movie that surprised me the most, in that I thought it was going to be just a nice animated movie. It's coming out at the end of September. DreamWorks. I was like, this will be fun, but it blew me away. It is one of the best animated films I've seen in the last decade. It was incredible. Number 3, The Brutalist. I agree with you. The very last part of the movie, I was struggling with a little bit. It doesn't fully satisfy me in the last 10 minutes, but most of this movie is quite something. It is unlike any other movie out there right now. It is like a grand scale epic, the kind we have not seen in a long time. And the performances, the cinematography, this movie is going to be a huge Oscar contender. It's great. Number 2, Baby Girl, which I know is going to be divisive. Like last year, I loved Saltburn coming out of Telluride, and that was probably the most divisive movie of 2023. So I have a thing for, you know, kind of erotic thriller dramas with, you know, hints of humor, dark humor, and I'm a lifelong Nicole Kidman fan, and I just thought this was her best work since Rabbit Hole. I thought she was phenomenal in this movie, and the story I thought was gripping. I love the ending. I thought it was great. And the number 1, Anora, is probably going to be my favorite film of 2024, unless there's something just incredible at the end of the year. Anora was probably in my top 3 most anticipated films at TIFF. And I knew in the opening shots, this is going to be a 5-star movie. I knew that early. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a false step. That entire narrative. Mikey Madison is a star. She is phenomenal in this movie. Probably going to be my pick to win the Oscar for Best Actress.
Amazing, yes. I think I was saying to you as well, don't be sleeping on Mikey Madison, mate. Like, I saw the film at Cannes. It was my number 1 at Cannes as well. I knew it would be a great TIFF movie as well. I was quite excited to see what the reactions were going to be like at TIFF. And it's been just as rapturous there as it has been in Cannes. So I'm anticipating it to be a big player as well. That's a lovely 10. Let me give you my 10. It's all right. So at number 10, amazingly, Baby Girl did make it into my 10, but yeah, only just. I only saw 15 movies. Yeah, so it goes Baby Girl, The Room Next Door, Queer, Cloud, Maria, then Joker Folie à Deux, King Ivory, Three Friends, and then The Order and The Brutalist. So we have a little bit of overlap there. We both appreciate The Room Next Door and Baby Girl and The Brutalist as well. Brutalist is coming quite high. Let me hear your thoughts on a little bit more depth on The Brutalist. What was it about this film that you really responded to? Yeah.
Well, it felt like the kind of movie we don't get anymore. It was just, it reminded me of like the Godfather films. It has this sweeping, epic quality to it. And reading recently that it costs under $10 million to make. Right? I was like, how? What?
How?
You watch this movie and you're like, that's at least a $50 million movie. Like, that is just mind-blowing to me that it cost under 10 to make. That is amazing. I just found the story extremely gripping, its sense of place, the character development. Adrian Brody has not been this good since The Pianist, and he won an Oscar for that. And he's been good in things like Wes Anderson movies, but he has not had a role like this one in a long time. I also adore Guy Pearce, and his role in this movie, it just delighted me so much to see him have this rich supporting role, this total asshole of a guy. Just like you cannot believe some of the things he does in this movie. And I thought he was Oscar worthy for LA Confidential, for Memento. Like, he has had a really great career. I think he's finally getting his first Oscar nomination for The Brutalist. It would very much surprise me if he wasn't a part of the conversation. And then Felicity Jones isn't even in the first half. And I'm like, is she, like, what role is she going to have? Like, that she doesn't have much. And then after the intermission, which I also adored, Luke, the 15-minute intermission, I needed to pee. About halfway through, and and it's not like a 5-minute intermission where you have to run to your like I was able to like relax, take in the first half of the movie, think about it, go use the bathroom, come back, talk to someone, and then the movie continued. You need to take a breath in this movie. It's 3.5 hours long. Like, I thought Killers of the Flower Moon last year needed an intermission. Like, there was just so much happening in that story, so many characters. I'm like, I need to take a breath here. And I'm assuming when The Brutalist goes around to theaters, like, they're going to keep that intermission. They better, like, don't take that out, because I did think that was helpful. And yeah, I found that the story was gripping and harrowing and went to some dark, dangerous places. Like director Brady Corbett is not messing around here. He's not telling a story that we've seen before, or that he's just going to play it kind of surface level and things like this goes to some very disturbing areas in the second half. And I very much admired that. It was never boring. It was always interesting. Those performances are fantastic. I could see The Brutalist winning the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director. I do think that could happen if enough people really take to this one.
Yeah. I know I didn't place in the top 3 for TIFF for the People's Audience Award, but yeah, I actually was sort of expecting this to take the Golden Lion at Venice as well. Like, Brady Corbett still got Best Director at Venice, which was something. But yeah, I do tend to agree. I think this is going to be a big player when it comes to awards season. Like, sometimes you just know when you're watching something that this is just going to be just something that they're going to shower with nominations. Like, just every aspect of this film is fantastic. Like performances, direction, cinematography, editing, the score. Absolutely adore the score in this. The production design, I mean, it's about an architect. Like the sets in it are very grand and very like they're a massive part of the story. So I can see it being a massive player. Like I think it's just going to be like a double-digit nomination package. And I think there is a pathway for it to be a credible winner for Best Picture. Out of all the films I saw at Venice, that was the one I walked away from thinking, okay, this is going to be the biggest player of anything I'm going to see at Venice this year. So yeah, it kind of just exploded onto the scene and then had the same sort of response at TIFF. So yeah, both seeing Brutalist as a big player, same as Anora, which came in, was it second runner-up, was it? I believe at TIFF. Then we had Emilia Perez as well for first runner-up. And then it was, what came in? The Life of Chuck. Yeah,
which I have to be honest. Like Life of Chuck was my number 10 in my top 10. It's a very good movie. The second half of Life of Chuck is wonderful. It's got some really great moments. But for that movie to beat Anora, I'm just like, okay, that's a choice.
Yeah, no, I really want to know what happened there. Like, I'm fascinated by it because, I mean, it's kind of nice being surprised every now and then, but like, was it really better than Anora? Like,
no. Like I walked out of Life of Chuck and I was like, oh, that was a very nice movie. I did not think in the moment that night that The Life of Chuck could be an Oscar movie. Like that just did not like come out at me at all while watching it, while thinking about it later. And now everyone's like, well, because it won the People's Choice, it could get into picture, adapted screenplay, maybe Mark Hamill and supporting actor. And I'm like, really? Is that going to happen? Like, I still don't really see that, but maybe. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie. People like it, so maybe.
I mean, the fact that it did win first place TIFF People's Choice Award, that stat has not been broken for 13 years or something? So, like, it does give it some real clout of actually being a potential Oscars player. But I've not seen it. You have. And you're saying that it's good, but you didn't walk away from it thinking this was going to be an Oscars player or even the winner of the People's Choice Award at TIFF.
Like, yeah, I mean, it has some genre elements in it. It's not a scary film from Mike Flanagan, who's mostly known for horror projects like Dr. Sleep and Haunting of Hill House. It does have some genre elements, some fantasy science fiction stuff in it. And it kind of plays like an anthology film. There's like 3 parts to the movie. And each part you spend time with different characters, at least at different times in their life. So like it kind of played for me at times like a kinds of kindness, like where we're jumping around to different timelines, to different characters. And I don't think that is going to play super well for all the awards voters. Like unless there's just like, there's only 8 films, everyone can really agree for like Best Picture and slots 9 and 10 are completely up for grabs. Then I think Life of Chuck can slip in. But if come January, there's like a clear 10 that everyone's pretty happy with, and Life of Chuck is more like number 11, number 12, just a little bit outside of the 10, then I think it might be hard for it to break in.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm very keen to check it out. Now that it's won, I'm very keen to see it. But I don't know when I'm going to get to see it. It's not been picked up for distribution yet, I don't believe. And also, I don't think it's coming to the London Film Festival either. So unless it's the surprise film, but I just don't know. I don't know if I'm going to see it for a while. But yeah, I did want to ask. I want to get back to your thoughts on Anora. How big of a player should we expect Anora to be?
For me, I think Anora is going to be huge. I mean, there is like the sex worker element to Anora. There's a lot of nudity in this movie. There's a lot of scenes of like sex in the first 30 to 40 minutes, especially. But like Poor Things had a lot of sex. And that didn't seem to turn off awards voters. That got into a bunch of categories. Won Best Actress for Emma Stone, of course. As we both predicted, right? Weren't we two of the very few people?
You heard it on our channels, folks. We were both predicting on the show. That was very satisfying, mate. Getting that boat with you. It was a canoe. Everyone else had jumped to the cruise of...
Everybody had jumped to Gladstone, and I'm like, wait a second, hold on.
Rowing in our canoe. The Emma Stone Express.
Yeah. So I had a similar experience in Anora that I did last year at Telluride to Poor Things. I walked out of the theater at Telluride for Poor Things. I said, Emma Stone just gave the performance of the year. That is going to win the Oscar for Best Actress. I don't care that she's won before. I don't care that there is a lot of sex and nudity in this movie and it's kind of weird. I think that's it for me. Yeah. And I have felt the same way this year about Mikey Madison and Anora. That performance just blew me away. I just thought every step of that performance was brilliant. Yes. You completely forget you're watching like an actor. Like she just became that character. Yes. And the evolution, like the arc of her character in the movie is so fascinating. Her final scene, I mean, talk about sticking the landing. Like that was such a perfect way to end this movie. And she's so good all throughout, but especially at the very end. So I'm like, I think the biggest problem for Mikey Madison is that unlike Emma Stone, a lot of people don't know who she is. Mm-hmm. So for some awards voters, the nomination for Best Actress, they might feel that's the win for her. She gets in for the first time. Does she have to win? When we're going to have some people like Amy Adams and Angelina Jolie and Saoirse Ronan, who are much more like known, and at least in the case of Jolie, of course, she won for Girl Interrupted, but is not one lead actress. It's been 25 years. And then Saoirse Ronan, Amy Adams have a bunch of nominations, have never won. I feel like the biggest struggle for Mikey Madison to win Best Actress at the Oscars will be that thinking of, she's young, she has time, this is her first nomination. So I will not, at least for a long while, we'll see what happens, I will not predict right now that Mikey Madison is going to win the Oscar. But based on the performances I've seen this year, that's my favorite in Best Actress.
Yeah, I mean, probably same thoughts to me as well. Like, nothing's quite topped it yet for me. I was waiting to see Maria. I'm waiting to see Night Bitch as well. I'm waiting to see some other like films that are on people's radar. But yeah, Mikey Madison's there for me, and I get it. Yes, she's young, but it is such a tour de force performance, and I do think there is a pathway. Like if Anora is the big player, I think it is going to be, even though it is a bit of a screwball comedy, and like I said, it's quite blue and there's lots of like nudity in it. But I feel like if it is the big juggernaut, it is, and we've seen Best Picture contenders, strong Best Picture contenders, Poor Things, Everything Ever All at Once. They had a very strong leading female performance in it, and if the film does start gaining momentum as an actual credible Best Picture contender, then I can see like the titular Mikey Madison playing Anora getting the win. I think there is a route there, so I'm hoping so. Again, it's just too early to know for sure just yet. Like you said, is she too young? Is she too much of an ingenue? Is she not known enough yet? That's the thing.
What I think is going to help her a lot is that she's in such a strong movie that I think as of right now, I think we'll probably win Best Original Screenplay. Like that just seems like that makes sense. Yeah. And I think is going to be in the top 2 or 3 to win Best Picture. Sure. Like I think The Brutalist, like its biggest competitor right now is probably Anora to win Best Picture. I think that could happen. The movie is so entertaining. It's very funny. It's very approachable, right? Yeah. The Brutalist is going to hit some awards voters as kind of cold and very long. Whereas I cannot imagine people walking out of Anora being like, it was okay. Like, it's just from the opening scene, it just grabs you. It's such a wild ride. And I did not expect it to be as hilarious as it is. I mean, I want to say I had like 30, 40 huge laughs watching Anora. It's very funny too. So if Anora can win Best Picture, it wins Screenplay, like Mikey Madison can win Best Actress.
Absolutely. So one film I definitely want to talk to you about, though, is the one that took the top prize at Venice, which was The Room Next Door, actually beating The Brutalist as well. And it's just been revealed that both Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton are going to be competing in both for Best Actress, or at least submitting themselves for Best Actress, which is an interesting move, to say the least. I just want to get your thoughts on what you think of The Room Next Door overall, and what do you think of this decision to both be submitted for lead actress?
So I very much enjoyed The Room Next Door. I want to say I liked it more while watching it in the days that have passed. I haven't reflected on that movie as much as some of the other like better films I saw at TIFF. It really is just an acting showcase for Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. And it has its emotional beats. There's this subplot with John Turturro in The Room Next Door that doesn't work that well. I think the movie goes on a little too long at the end. I feel like the story was over and then it went another 10 minutes. And to not give it away, but there is this casting choice for a certain daughter at the end that I was like, what? Okay, that's interesting. But I don't know. That took me out of the movie a little bit. I don't know if that's going to affect other people the way it did me.
It will. It was stopped screening. God, yeah.
But it's very interesting in terms of the Oscar conversation, because walking out of Room Next Door, I thought, okay, the one category this movie can get into is Best Supporting Actress for Tilda Swinton. I think if one of those two actors get in, it's her. Julianne Moore is good in the movie. It's not a transformative performance. Yeah. You know, you're just kind of watching Julianne Moore do her thing. And I mean, she couldn't get in for May, December. Yeah. I don't think she can get in for this, especially in lead actress. But now that Tilda Swinton is going lead, I'm like, okay, I can see it. If there's enough enthusiasm for The Room Next Door, and there is like room in Best Actress in like that 5th and final slot, if there's not like a consensus choice for the very final slot there, I could see Tilda Swinton making it. Yeah, I think it's possible, but she had a much more slam dunk nomination in Supporting Actress. At the same time, that would have been category fraud. Tilda Swinton is in almost the entire movie. That wouldn't have felt right to me for her to be competing in Supporting Actress with other performances that are actually supporting in their movies. I don't know. So I admire that they're both going lead. That is the right thing to do. Yeah. But I think Swinton going lead might mean that she doesn't get nominated at all. And The Room Next Door, outside of maybe adapted screenplay, I feel like they love Almodovar enough that he can get in there. Like outside of that category, I don't see The Room Next Door doing especially well during award season.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I was talking to Emma Sasek after we saw this in Venice, and we kind of came to this agreement, like this is one of those films that could really go either way, like depending on just how celebrated it is. We weren't knocked out by this movie when we saw it, but we certainly liked it. We enjoyed it, but we didn't get that immediate, oh, this is going to be a big player feeling, you know, for Academy recognition. It just didn't come, but we're like, but yeah, Tilda probably will come along with this, maybe a screenplay nom, maybe Julianne Moore if they're feeling, you know, a bit generous. But yeah, but then it won the top prize at Venice, which was just like a bit of a head scratcher. I don't think anyone will say this is like Pedro's best film, but it is. It's certainly charming and watchable, and it's beautiful. It has something to say. Sometimes it's saying a bit too much about things I don't think it needs to really talk about. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is. You know, it's kind of one of those movies I feel like I'd put it maybe around 12 or 13 for my best picture predictions, kind of from the outside looking in. I can maybe see it getting in, but it's. I'm not going to rule it out. But yeah, the fact that it won the Golden Lion was kind of a shock reveal for me. I guess they just wanted to give Pedro his flowers, which is lovely. But yeah, I just think like he's just done better films. The performances are strong enough, I think, to get in. It's just a question of whether the movie is strong enough to sustain that and get them the attention they deserve. So yeah, that's where I'm at with The Room Next Door. A film that I definitely want to talk about, which won a prize also at TIFF, is Emilia Perez. And I know you did a review with Ryan Castleman for this. I wanted to know, how do you see this film playing award season wise? Because I was not sure when I saw this film at Cannes if this was going to be an Oscars player, because I thought it was very ambitious. There's a big mix of ideas and genres and whatnot going on here. I was like, I just wasn't sure. And I was like, I need to see how it's going to place at TIFF. And now it's won a prize at TIFF, I'm feeling more certain that it is, you know, a crowd pleaser. People do seem to like it. But I'm still not sure how I feel about its Oscars chances. So I want to hear your thoughts, bud. What do you think of Emilia Perez and its Oscars potential?
Yeah, what an unusual movie this is. I mean, it's unlike anything ever made. Emilia Perez. I didn't love everything in it. I felt like there were some lulls in the narrative. The performances are very good. I like the musical numbers, but I felt like there needed to be either more of them or fewer of them, because we get a bunch at the beginning and then there's like nothing for a while. So that was weird to me. So I had some issues with it. I liked it, didn't love it. I do think Emilia Perez is original enough. It's got a great cast and, you know, really exciting third act and a lot of interesting things about it. I do think it's going to be an Oscar player. I don't think it's going to overperform. Like, I see it getting into picture, best actress for Carla Sofia Gascon, best supporting actress for Zoe Saldana, probably screenplay, maybe one or two texts. I could see this getting like 5 or 6 nominations probably doesn't win anything. One of those movies that doesn't actually win,
Yeah.
but will be a part of the award season for sure.
I really wanted to see how it played at TIFF because I didn't know if it was just, is this just a Cannes thing? I can understand why it was a thing celebrated at Cannes. Sometimes, yeah, they like a little bit more of an unorthodox pick, and I thought maybe that was just it. But I was like, okay, if it responds well at TIFF, then maybe it's more of a play than I thought. I think I really need a second viewing of the film is the thing. It was one of those films where I admired so much about it, but I wasn't in love watching it. Like I was just like, I'm appreciating the risks it's taking. I'm appreciating so much about it, different elements of it, but I wasn't sure how to feel in certain places, whether I should be taking it seriously or like enjoying it for the fun side of it. So I was a little conflicted watching it. That's where I'm at with Emilia Perez. So yeah, you actually got to see a lot of films that I was quite envious of at TIFF. Some of these films I'll get to see at the London Film Festival, but I've not seen yet. So you got to see The Last Showgirl, Night Bitch, The Wild Robot, We Live in Time, Hard Truths, The End, The Life of Chuck, The Fire Inside, Eden, I'm Still Here, Will and Harper, and Piece by Piece. I would love to hear like a couple thoughts on any of those films that you think might be surprise players, or maybe in like one or two categories. Are there any like performances or things that we should be looking out for? Any of those films? Does anything jump out at you as like maybe something people should be seeking out?
Of all those titles you read, the movie that popped out to me, the performance is Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here.
Oh yeah.
She is the daughter of Fernanda Montenegro, who was nominated for Central Station at the Oscars at the end of the 90s, and Montenegro is in the movie at the end, which was interesting. And Fernanda Torres really broke my heart in this movie, and at the end I was like, you know, if this movie gets seen by enough people and they have some sort of awards push, I could see Fernanda Torres being that international pick for like Best Actress, like a surprise. Maybe she only gets in a BAFTA, but if we can't like figure out who gets that final slot, like Fernanda Torres would be an inspired choice for a Best Actress nomination. She is wonderful in that. You read off some titles that I didn't love as much as others. Night Bitch and Queer were two of my top like anticipated movies of the week, and both underwhelmed me, both for the same reason. The second half doesn't work for me in either movie. One goes too weird in Queer. I mean, that movie for an hour is like a single man. Call Me by Your Name. You're getting to know these two gay men and they're having a relationship. It's very good. And then the second half of Queer, it turns into a David Lynch movie. And sometimes I'll like admire that, but I was just so invested in the central relationship and the like the period detail in this place, and then it just going just like absolute like surreal crazy in the second half.
Oh my God,
didn't quite sit well with me. Most people are liking or loving Queer, so I feel like an outlier on that one. I feel like that might be Daniel Craig Best Actor nomination all throughout award season, and that's fine. He's very good in it.
Yeah.
And then Night Bitch, I wanted to go weird and surreal in the second half, and it never really does. It tries to be both. It tries to be kind of weird. Oh, she's turning into a dog. Here's a transformation scene. But like, well, we don't want to really go too far. Let's like keep things grounded. And at the end, everything's fine. And did she turn into a dog? I'm not really sure. I felt like tonally Queer and Night Bitch were a little confusing to me. And so I could never fully engage on an emotional level in either movie. Night Bitch could get Amy Adams an Oscar nomination if it's well received. Searchlight is putting it out in December, I think, and that's a good sign. And she's, of course, has 6 nominations at the Oscars. But I don't know. It's like, is she going to get an Oscar nomination for Night Bitch, having missed an Oscar nomination for her best performance in Arrival? That might feel weird to me, but that it is what it is.
So getting back to Queer, yes, I don't know if I see it as a big Oscars player. Like you said, the first half I thought was, dare I say, quite conventional. And then, as you say, in that second half, it just gets more and more bonkers, more and more surreal. And all of that just kind of evaporated for me, that Oscars buzz. But I do think, because Daniel Craig is so good in it, like he really gives everything to this role, and he is absolutely phenomenal in this. And I feel like this is probably like a Spencer sort of situation where even if the movie's polarizing, people will still acknowledge that Daniel Craig is still so good in this. So I still think he's going to be in the conversation for Best Actor. I don't know if he's a guarantee, But I do think he's a strong possibility, I'd say. I feel like he's probably someone who they'd like to finally give some acknowledgement to. Another question I had, Hun, is this is just wishful thinking. How good is Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl? I have to know. I have to know. So yes.
The Last Showgirl was an interesting film. It's very enjoyable. It's a little slice. It's kind of a slight, slice of life movie set in Vegas. And like, I've heard some rumblings. Can Pamela Anderson crash the Best Actress race? No, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's what I wanted to know.
It's tough, right? Because like I tweeted out, she gives a wonderful performance, and she does. I mean, what has her film career been? Barbed Wire in '96? Like, Pamela Anderson has not had like a really good performance in a movie before. So the fact that she was good, like she does not bring the movie down. There's nothing kind of forced about her performance. It's natural. This got like a really good distributor. They put it out at the end of the year and they do like a crazy awards push for this movie. Like I could see Pamela Anderson surprising at the Golden Globes or something. Like, can she get in at the Oscars? I do not see that. That would be shocking to me. But there are some good performances in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is hilarious in this movie. She's got this horrible spray tan. She does this like dance in the middle of a casino that like reminded me in a way of True Lies, but like much worse. It's just very funny. And there's this scene of her like undressing in a locker room where she's just letting everything hang out, and she's like, smoking and spewing like expletives. And I'm like, okay, this is like Jamie Lee Curtis going for it. I don't see this movie getting in at the Oscars, but it is worth seeing. It's very entertaining.
You really liked We Live in Time as well. This is another one that I'm excited for. It is coming to the London Film Festival. What was it about this film that you liked?
I mean, okay, number one is like Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are just magical together on screen. Talk about chemistry between these two. I'm like, I want to see these two in another 10 movies. They really crackle together with like intensity, like whether it's a funny scene or an emotional scene, they are great together. I like that the film has a non-linear editing structure. Like we bounce around in time over multiple years. Someone I talked to at TIFF did not like that about it. They thought that was confusing, but I admired that. I thought it actually added to like the tension of the story and the tragedy and what's happening. I thought that worked pretty well. It's very funny. It's very emotional. I cried twice in this movie. And I don't cry in everything. I'm not just like a crier, like, oh, the music. There is this one moment by Florence Pugh. I won't give it away. Where I started like nodding my head and like I had tears come out of both eyes. It was just so moving, so real a moment. I don't see a lot of acting in this movie. I think both actors are fantastic in so many projects throughout the years, but they're really good in this. And weirdly, at the same time, I don't think it's going to be an Oscar movie. Isn't that weird? Like, it's so great. It's in my top 6 films I saw at TIFF. Like, maybe screenplay, but it's not based on a novel, so it'd go into original. So I don't think this gets into original screenplay. And neither performance is like transformative. Like it kind of feels like it's them. Like, of course, they're playing characters. But you don't walk away like, whoa, like Andrew Garfield, like just blew my mind. He's very, very good and real and authentic in this movie, but it's not like a performance that blows your mind or anything. I think if either one were to get in, Pugh has the more emotional performance, but like, I don't know, like maybe Golden Globes, but I don't see Pugh being like seriously considered for an Oscar nomination for this, but it's absolutely worth seeing anyway. I don't care. If We Live in Time gets 0 Oscar nominations, go see it. You will love it. I think what hurts its Oscar chances the most is that it's kind of a familiar story. It's a movie you've seen before. Like there's nothing in this film that we haven't seen in 30 other films in the last few years. But what it's doing, it does very well. So I admire that.
Lovely. Okay. Well, it's definitely one I'm still very keen to check out. You've sold it to me, mate. So looking forward to checking out We Live in Time. We had a bit of overlap with Venice and TIFF. There's only a handful of movies that we got at Venice that TIFF didn't get.
Maria!
The most expensive one was Paola Loren's Maria, for sure, which was definitely in my top 5 most anticipated from the festival. And I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was beautiful. I think I preferred Spencer a little bit more. I just thought it was a little bit more cohesive. Whereas this it kind of like meanders around a fair bit, but it's really just a star vehicle for Angelina Jolie. And she truly is just the best I've ever seen her, like in anything. Like, I think this is the best performance she's ever given, for me personally anyways. So like, she gets to just showcase so much of what she's capable of in this, and like the scenes where she's doing the opera and stuff, like there's some physicality going on here. She just takes so many boxes to me as like being a credible best actress contender for this. Like, this really is just what I can see the Academy going for. Like, she's been around for so long, she is respected, she's more of a name than Mikey Madison, like you said. So maybe this is enough. I think, like you were saying, was it the Brutalist? No, it was Anora. Like 5 minutes in, you knew, okay, best fiction nominee or whatever. Yeah. Like 5 minutes into Maria, I was like, okay, she's getting nominated for best actress. I was like, there's just like a montage of like her life at the beginning. And even in the montage, I'm just like, okay, yeah, they're going to go for this. And then the performance only gets better from there as well. Like, even though I was like sure 5 minutes in that she's getting the best actress nomination, I thought, okay, like she could win this. Like, I genuinely do think that. So yeah, Maria, definitely want to check out. I think I gave it a 7 in my review, but yeah, it's really, it delivered what I wanted, which was, you know, a star vehicle performance for Angelina Jolie. Yeah, that and Queer did it for me. I was like, okay, I want Daniel Craig to be good in this. I want Angelina Jolie to be good in this. And they both, those movies gave me what I needed. Probably the other like highly anticipated film was Joker, Joker Folie à Deux, sorry. And obviously the first Joker, you know, did very well, 11 nominations. I enjoyed the movie. I know the reactions were very all over the place. Some people really, really enjoyed it. Some people just hated it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I appreciated the ambition of what Top Phillips was going for, making this a musical. Still don't know why Lady Gaga was insisting this wasn't a musical. I was just like, this is so clear. Just own it. It is a musical. Like, it's so clearly what it is. And I don't know why she's like saying it's not. Just get people to go see it, I guess. Kind of curious about Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn. That was the thing I was like really wanted to know if she's good in it. And what really surprised me about Gaga was like, I thought this was going to be a role where she went full cuckoo crazy. And while she does play it, you know, a little cuckoo crazy, it's not as big of a performance as I was expecting. Like, she's actually more restrained than I thought, more restrained than she was in like House of Gucci. So I was just like, okay, like she's giving more of a grounded interpretation of Harley Quinn. I'm wondering if she can make Best Supporting Actress for this. I think that's what she's going to campaign for. I think it is possible. Some people are saying she's not used enough in the film. I don't think that was a problem. I thought she had plenty to work with in this film, and I feel like she could still get in. But where Joaquin Phoenix can get nominated, not so sure about Joaquin. It's good, but it just doesn't have the surprise wow factor that we got with the first Joker. I feel like Gaga's probably got more of a chance than Joaquin. Because Best Actor is actually looking pretty crowded this year. Like, there's some pretty strong contenders, I think, getting in for Best Actor. And I feel like maybe Joaquin could fall aside, having already won an Oscar for this role. So that's where I'm at with Joker. I think could get a few tech noms, maybe like production design, maybe costumes. Cinematography was lovely. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be as big of a player. But I think it probably will get some Oscars attention, just not to the same degree as the previous one.
I just haven't had much of a sense there's been enthusiasm for the second Joker. Like, I could see it missing outside of some tech nominations.
Yeah, there's a reality it could, but I feel like it probably will make enough noise that it will at least be in the discussion. Maybe not get all the nominations that it is striving for, but I think it will definitely at least get 1 or 2. That's where I'm at. All right, yes. So getting back to Conclave. Well, tell me, is this going to be a player, Oscars-wise?
Yes. I did not love Conclave. It was an interesting movie for me because it starts really strong. Like, the opening 10 minutes, I was like all in, like, oh, this is going to be mysterious and compelling. And then it slows way down. And there's like 30 to 40 minutes where I was like, okay, we could pick this up a little bit. Geez, like every scene was long and it was just a lot of like discussions in dark rooms. And I was like, okay, this could get a little better. But then finally we start Conclave, like where they are trying to select a new pope after the previous pope died. And then there's all these controversies with all the different members and people who might become pope. And then it gets interesting. And I was like, okay, the movie's working again. But then it has this twist ending at the end. I didn't feel like the movie dealt with enough. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And then it's just over. And I was like, oh, that could have been handled a little bit better in terms of the screenplay and things. So I was a little mixed on it throughout, but overall I liked it. It's definitely worth seeing. But watching Conclave, I was like, oh, this is a movie awards voters are going to eat up. Like, this is going to do very well, especially from like older Academy members. Like, this is going to be a movie they love. And so Conclave, I could see getting into picture, director, best actor for Ralph Fiennes, maybe best supporting actor for Stanley Tucci. He's got some great scenes in the movie. And Tucci should have another nomination than just for The Lovely Bones. That does not sat well with me. Like, he should get in for something better. So I'm hoping he can be in the conversation. I adore Isabella Rossellini. She's in maybe 5 minutes of it. So, like, outside of them just going real hard, oh, you know what? She's like Hollywood royalty, daughter of Ingrid Bergman. Rossellini has never received an Oscar nomination before. If supporting actress is just like totally up for grabs, no one can decide who gets that fifth slot. Like, maybe Rossellini. Like, I don't think she's 100% out of it. Most people have said she's done, like she's not in it enough. I'm not 100% there yet. I still, like, she's got one really great scene in the middle of the movie where, like, everybody stops to look at her and she has this monologue and it's emotional. It's very good. So I think it could be enough, like, if there's just not a whole lot of competition in supporting actress, but very likely she misses. The cinematography is amazing. Great score. All Quiet on the Western Front was Edward Berger's previous film, and that won score. And I thought this one was even better. So I could see Conclave getting a minimum of like 8 nominations total. I think it's going to do well.
Wow, that's good to know, though. I guess I wasn't getting too excited for Conclave because I thought, political thriller, it's probably going to be too genre-y for them to get behind.
It's not really genre-y. It plays out like a drama. It's not like one of those. It's not like a ticking time bomb. Like, oh my god, what's going to happen? It's not that kind of a thriller. It's just, it has some suspense in it, but it plays out like a drama.
Oh, that's great there. I guess it just solidifies that Edward Berger's the real deal as well. Like, All Quiet on the Western Front wasn't just a one-off.
Yeah, he's a talented director, Edward Berger. He's great.
That's exciting. Oh, well, that has jumped up a few spots now on my anticipation levels, so thank you for that. Now, this is one I know we're going to be split on. So tell me, Baby Girl. Thoughts? Yes. What did we like about this? Yeah, what was it that worked for you about this film?
I have just admired Nicole Kidman for so long, and she works so hard. Every month she's in something.
Everywhere.
Like, she works all the time, and I have not been a big fan of her last 2 Oscar nominations for Lion and Being the Ricardos, and she's been good in things here and there. This is Nicole Kidman like you've never seen her before. I thought this was one of her most courageous, bold performances in the movies. Like, from the beginning, from that opening shot, I was just taken with her performance, her character, this vision. I thought, like, we've seen a lot of movies, older woman, younger man, like that's been done 1,000 times. But I thought there was like a raw intensity to the story, the way it's shot. Like, the camera work is beautiful, a lot of handheld. It really puts you up front with these 2 characters. You understand where they're both coming from. And it just kept delighting me throughout. It went into directions I didn't expect. I had certain expectations of the third act. I was like, oh, the younger guy, this is what's probably going to happen with him. It'll become more of a thriller, like that kind of thing. And the writer-director just never goes to the expected places. I was really taken with how the movie ended, and there's never a dull moment. I thought the scenes of sexuality were very well done, very realistic, and just everything about this movie I thought was wonderful. I walked out like, this is one of my favorite films of the year for sure. I want to know what your flaws were about it. Like, what did you not like about Baby Girl?
Well, for me, it wasn't a case of never a dull moment. For me, I thought there were some really interesting moments throughout, like the scene with the milk, and like there's little genius moments where I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, where's this going? And I do agree, like, Helena Rain, director, she does a wonderful job of subverting your expectations of like this being, an erotic thriller. It's not conventional, it's not like a Fatal Attraction or anything like that. It takes a more nuanced approach to sort of like looking at sexuality. I'll give her that. But for me, there were just lulls in the story where I just was not as into it as I was expecting it to be. But then it did like pull me back in every now and then. But it just collectively, those moments didn't add up to a satisfying whole for me. And I will agree, Nicole Kidman is wonderful in this. Harris Dickinson's great in it as well. Agreed, one of her best performances. Nice that she won the Best Actress Volpe Cup as well at Venice. Do have to take her seriously now as a potential contender to get into Best Actress as well. So yes,
she deserves it for this. She's
yes,
great.
So you could get into this.
I don't think it's going to place anywhere but potentially Best Actress. I don't see Baby Girl like being in like picture, screenplay. Like I think this is a play for Best Actress.
But yeah, just for me, I guess it was just I wanted more. I wanted it to be saucy. I wanted it to be more scandalous. And it was interesting, but
more scandalous. What about the part of her on all fours? That long scene, all done in one shot. That wasn't scandalous enough.
I don't know. Maybe I just wanted. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just filthier than that. I don't know. I just wanted, as saucy as it was, it just there could have been more sauce. I thought. I don't know. Just to me, it just wasn't gelling. All of it for me. Like it didn't all gel for me. It just didn't quite get me to where I thought it was going to take me originally.
And I could see like if there's just like there's 3 people we're seeing all season, but on Oscar nominations morning, we're going to get 1 or 2 surprises in Best Actress. Marianne Jean-Baptiste gives a pretty freaking fantastic performance in that movie. There are so many scenes of her just going off, mostly on like workers at like grocery stores, like at the dentist and stuff. It's very entertaining. She plays just this extremely volatile woman. Like she is just everything about people just pisses her off, and she can't stand even like members of her family and things. And there is an arc to her character. The second half, it goes to a different place, which I was relieved because at about the hour mark, you're kind of like exhausted by her character. She's just always screaming, going off. But it's a big, bold, emotional performance that I could see awards voters going for. And it being a Mike Leigh movie, she got in, of course, for Secrets and Lies at the Oscars in the 90s. And she's been doing great work for 3 decades. And she's never been nominated in Best Actress. Marianne Jean-Baptiste could get in at the Oscars. It's a good enough performance to get in for sure, but I don't know. We're kind of have to wait and see on that one.
Good to know that she is at least going to be in the conversation for Best Actress. Yes, you spoke quite highly of The Wild Robot. Yes. Is this going to be a legit contender, you reckon, for Best Animated Feature?
Oh, I think it's going to win.
Yeah?
I'm like 98% like The Wild Robot will win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Now, I've really only seen Inside Out 2. I don't know is there like a sleeper contender coming in November, December? I don't really know.
It's Flow, but it's not going to have the same.
I guess I can't say 100%, but oh my God, this movie. I walked into it like, oh, this will be nice. This will, like this will be a pretty animated film. It's about a robot landing on this island with a bunch of animals. Like this will be pleasant. And I was bawling my eyes out in the third act. It's so exciting. It's so emotional. Says so much about like mother-son relationships. I mean, there are a couple scenes in here, like any mom is just gonna just lose them. Like they were just gonna be crying. It has a bunch of action in the third act, which I was not expecting. Like it has really cool, big science fiction action and stuff. So it's got that for the boys, in the audience. It's not just like, oh, this quiet little drama about mother-son. My big, bold prediction about The Wild Robot is that I think it could get into Best Picture.
Whoa.
That's how good it is.
Wow.
In a field of 10, like I think it's that good. Wow. And depending on how well it does at the box office, like it's so great. It works it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're a little kid, if you're 90 years old, like you will find something to love about this movie. It just flies by. It's so entertaining, so emotional. The voice work is great. And the animation is so gorgeous. It kind of looks like both computer animation and hand-drawn. Like it's kind of this interesting blend that's just so luscious to look at all throughout. And then the story's great. So I'm just like, I have nothing negative to say about this movie. It is wonderful. I would love to see it get into Best Animated Feature, win there, and also potentially get into like adapted screenplay and Best Picture. I think it's that good.
Wow. I mean, in a year where it feels like I've seen less assured Best Picture nominees at this point, there's very few films right now I'm like, okay, yeah, these are 10, you know, for Best Picture so far. I feel like there is space. The fact that you're feeling confident enough that The Wild Robot could get in, that's exciting, man. That's really cool. I mean, I feel like I'd probably be more assured on that if I'd seen it maybe land in one of the 1, 2, 3 spots of the TIFF Choice Award. At TIFF, that would be very assuring. But if you're saying it's a possibility, then I'd like to see that. We haven't really seen an animated film get into Best Picture, have we, since... Was it Toy Story 3 or
was it Toy Story 3 was the last one?
3,
so it's been a while. So that's kind of a wild prediction to make. There is no way if you have 100 people watch Emilia Perez and The Wild Robot that you could tell me that more people in that 100 prefer Emilia Perez. Give me a break.
Wow. Okay.
Wild Robot is just fantastic. A crowd pleaser. It's going to do very well with audiences. It's coming out in a few days. At the very minimum, it gets into animated feature and very likely wins there. I'm
very excited to watch this one. It's coming to the LFF, so
I'll check it out.
I'll bring the tissues. So it sounds like a week.
Very emotional.
All right, mate. Well, I think we've talked about pretty much everything that I wanted to know about from TIFF. But yeah, for our viewers at home, we're going to give them a quick little surmise of like the films you've seen at TIFF. What are the films and performances that are on your radar now that you think are going to be like the big players or might get some traction when it comes to the Oscars or award season in general?
So, I mean, I think the two big ones I saw at TIFF that are going to do very well at the Oscars are Anora and The Brutalist. Yep. I would probably throw in Conclave too, even though I didn't love that as much as those two. I think Conclave is going to do well. Like in Best Picture, like it's going to be for sure Anora, The Brutalist. Probably Emilia Perez. I don't think that's going to be like in the top 3 or 4, but Emilia Perez probably gets in. Conclave for sure. And then like director is still kind of open right now. I think like Sean Baker has to get into director for Anora. Same with Brady Corbett. Like I will be shocked if either one of those two miss in director. And then best actor right on top, I think, is Ralph Fiennes in Conclave and Adrian Brody in The Brutalist. We'll see how A Complete Unknown is with Timothée Chalamet. That comes out at Christmas.
Yep.
Playing Bob Dylan, like a biopic, like, and he also has Dune Part 2 this year. So I feel like if Chalamet's really good in A Complete Unknown, he could also be in the top 3 contending for Best Actor. And then in Best Actress, like I'm still not 100% sold that Carla Sofia Gascon is going to get in everywhere and be a contender to win and things. Like she's very good in the movie. It's very much an ensemble film. Like Gascon is not in the whole thing. Like there's lots of stretches where we're only with Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez and things. So like I don't think that's for sure, but she's probably getting in. Right now, I say Mikey Madison is on top, even though she's not as well known. Like anyone who watches Anora, like you are going to be blown away by her performance in this. And I think she's going to get a lot of like number 1, number 2 votes on ballots for Best Actress. I think she can do it, especially because her movie is so strong. Those are kind of my thoughts on the top 4 categories for sure.
Yeah, some great picks. Agree with you about The Brutalist and Anora being big contenders. Emilia Perez, I'm definitely warming up to now, being more of a player. But yeah, for me, Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, Guy Pearce, all acting nominations I could see happening. Daniel Craig for Queer. I would love to see that happen for him. That'd be a lovely first-time nom for him. And Guy Pearce as well. He's not been nominated either. But did you see The Order at TIFF?
No, I wanted to ask you about that. So you said that was your number 2 movie.
Yeah.
I heard it was good. I didn't hear any like raves. I didn't hear it was an Oscar movie. It's got Jude Law, and it sounded like a really strong kind of like thriller that I didn't have to go out of my way to see at TIFF. But so it's good. It's like what? It's like an 8 out of 10 kind of movie. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a solid sort of like police procedural action / thriller. And like it's sort of got a lot of pertinent topics to like what's going on in America with like neo-Nazis and stuff like that. So there is like, you know, there's some substance to it, which is nice. But like the thing that really caught my eye was Nicholas Hoult in it for his supporting performance. He plays like the leader in this, and he's really, really good. Like he's been good in things for so long, but this is like the first film I've seen where he's stealing the film here. Like
I have not heard that
good in it. So while I feel like it's probably one of those films that will probably just fly under the radar award season, I feel like he'll at least be in the discussion for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this. He is so good. And he's also got another supporting role coming up. Oh, maybe it's lead. I don't know. He's in the Juror number 2, isn't he? Clint Eastwood's final film. But,
which is now I've heard is coming out in November.
I guess with Warner Brothers having lost faith in probably Joker 2, or BeReal said Mad Max Saga, like losing steam, not being the awards players they thought they were going to be, and maybe they're going to push out Juror #2 early in hopes that something there might land, but we'll see. But yeah, Angelina Jolie for Maria as well, definitely not only a nomination, but an actual contender, I think, for it.
You think Angelina Jolie could win Best Actress for Maria?
I think the movie is going to hurt her. Like, this is why I feel like Mikey Madison is in a stronger position, because the movie is just so good. Like, everyone likes Anora. Mm-hmm. Not everyone likes Maria. So, but, you know, you're aware of how good the performance is. So it's more of a case of, like, does she have the narrative? Does she have sort of, like, the respect? And, like, is it her time for, like, you know, the Best Actress Awards? Yes, she's won for Supporting Actress, 24 years ago for Girl Interrupted. So some people are thinking maybe it's Angelina Jolie's turn. Who knows? But I think the performance is good enough to win. I'd still think Mikey Madison is my personal pick, you know, to win. So yeah, I do think she does have a chance, though, at least the nomination. And then yeah, Nicole Kidman, Baby Girl, Lady Gaga, Supporting Actress for Joker Folie à Deux. And yeah, Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton for Best Actress for Room Next Door. God, it's going to be so crowded, this Best Actress race. And yeah, it's someone's going to get left out again, and it's going to hurt. Like, there's always one who doesn't make the cut, and it always hurts so much. Those are the ones I'm suggesting people check out. Like, those are the performances that impressed me, that were on my radar, and could get some traction over award season. A good follow-up question would be, are there any films that you haven't seen yet that you're really excited to see, or think might have some, you know, potential to be Oscars players that are coming up soon?
Well, I feel like the one big awards player that has played at a festival that neither of us has seen is Nickel Boys, played at Telluride. Yeah. That didn't go to Venice, right?
No, it didn't, no.
Didn't go to Venice, did not go to TIFF. So it just played Telluride. Is it going to London?
It's opening the New York Film Festival, I believe, and it is coming to the London Film Festival. First reactions at Telluride were, you know, rapturous. Everyone was praising this. Like, given its subject matter, it could be a big player, I think, maybe at the Oscars as well. It sounds like a heavy movie, but, you know, an important movie. So I could definitely see it being, you know, one that goes the distance as well, just from the first reactions alone.
Yeah, if it has a good release strategy, it's not like Buried or anything. Like December 31st, limited release, and like barely gets released or something. Like I think as long as they get it out the right way, the reviews out of Telluride were very strong. Sure. So I'm excited for that. And then like you have the end of the year movies like A Complete Unknown for sure, and Gladiator 2. I'm crossing my fingers. Like, let's get Ridley Scott back into Best Director. It's been a while. You know, the guy's been around a while. And because Gladiator, the first one, did so well at the Oscars, I think most of us are assuming the second one will be a player, but I mean, we'll see. Like, outside of maybe Gladiator 2 and A Complete Unknown, there's not anything opening in like November, December that is bypassing the festivals that I'm like, oh, this could be a real sleeper at the end of the year. Could be like, you know, contender for 8 categories at the Oscars. I'm not sensing that right now. Like Juror #2 maybe could be a thing, but I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe. I mean, Clint Eastwood's films tend to be a little hit or miss sometimes with the Academy. But some people saying, oh, maybe Robert Eggers with Nosferatu, but, you know, it's, I mean, there's a lot working against that film, but like if it is really, really good, who knows? Maybe it is arriving at the right time. So if it just gets that late surge going into like, you know, Oscars voting for nominations, who knows? Maybe it could, but yeah, there is a lot of like genre bias working against that film already just from the get-go. So
yeah, I failed to mention Nosferatu because I don't see that as an Oscar movie. Maybe that's why it wasn't like I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, what his films have not really placed. Just Lighthouse, I think, got into cinematography, and that's it. Like they don't really go for his stuff, and this is like a vampire movie. Exactly. But I'm very excited for Nosferatu. What a cast! Nicholas Holt's in that too, right?
Oh my God, yes, he's having a year, isn't he? God, wow.
Maybe wait, yeah, you're right. So he's got The Order and Juror #2 and Nosferatu. So if he's really great in all of these movies, maybe he could slip in somewhere, even if it's like for The Order or something. Like if you're in like 3 really good movies at the end of the year, sometimes you can get in. Like people are just like, you know, the Jessica Chastain effect for The Help when she had 6 movies that year. Everybody was like, okay, just like, okay,
yeah,
so who knows? But yeah, Yeah, Nosferatu is going to be great. Anything less than an 8 out of 10 for Nosferatu from me will be disappointing. I think that's going to be great.
But yeah, I think you've mentioned other ones that are on my radar. I don't know if I have an assured Best Picture prediction yet or anything like that. I've got a few where I feel like these are possible contenders, but I don't know if there's anything I'm like, okay, this is going to be the winner just yet. So yeah, but I'm kind of like rooting for Anora, mostly me anyway. Oh, that's my pick at the moment anyways, because it is like best film of the year for me so far.
Yeah, it's like we went the epic direction last time with Oppenheimer. Wasn't that just so easy last season to just be like, oh, Oppenheimer wins, but like we didn't have to think. This season it's a little bit up for grabs. Yeah. Like are they going to go the epic direction again with The Brutalist, or will they go with a more kind of dangerous kind of like, you know, kind of wild ride comedy drama in Anora? I think Anora winning Best Picture at the Oscars would age very well. And they gave Everything Everywhere All at Once Best Picture. So they're open to movies that are a little out there, that aren't just your typical kind of, you know, drama, Best Picture wins kind of a thing that we got like in the 90s a lot. Anora might rub some awards voters the wrong way, but I think most people are going to go nuts for it. So I could see Anora winning at the end of the day.
I would like that as well. The fact that it's kind of like mirroring Parasite's Cannes Palme d'Or win, and then placing as the second runner-up, at TIFF. I want to believe there's something to that. I want to believe there's actually some evidence to suggest that it's got the goods to do it, and it is a neon film. They know how to do a good Oscars campaign as well, and like they have such a strong powerhouse performance in the lead role as well, strong supporting work as well. Mm-hmm. It's just a very well-rounded film, Anora. I feel like there's a definite pathway for that to happen as well, but obviously we need to wait and see how the pieces lie when we've seen all the movies and we know what our contenders are. All right, mate. I think we've covered a lot today, extensively. Thank you so much for your time, mate. It's been absolutely delightful chatting to you, mate. Getting to talk about some of our early contenders for award season stuff. Hopefully we can do it again sometime as well. Can you tell the lovely people who are watching, where can we find you? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke. I'll definitely have to have you on my channel at some point. We'll have to collab there. It would be fun. You can find me on Twitter, X, at Mr. Brian Rowe, Mr. Brian Rowe. I'm pretty active on there every day. I tweet a few things. And then check out my YouTube channel, The Awards Contender on YouTube. I have anywhere from like 2 to 4 videos a week. I do Oscar predictions. I do film reviews of new movies. I do video essays about older films and awards races from decades past. So come check out my content at The Awards Contender on YouTube.
Do it. It makes absolutely fabulous content. I'll leave links below in the video description where you can find Brian's channel, and you can also find him on all his socials as well. Again, thanks so much for joining us, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Lovely. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Harefield, and I'll see you next time.